This episode of Navel Gazing is sponsored by valleygivesback.org. Adding a Valley charity to your estate plan creates a lasting legacy that tells future generations what causes matter to you. Your action will inspire others to follow your lead and make a difference. With a planned gift, you have the power to impact the Valley community forever without affecting your current lifestyle. Learn more at valleygivesback.org, an initiative of the Valley Community Foundation. Plan now, give later, and impact tomorrow at valleygivesback.org.
For hundreds of years we brought you the news. Printed the info, we gave you the clues. Owners' profits were always sky high. Changing market now threatens our lives. Post-literation, critical reading, dumbed down nation, signs of inbreeding. TV sucking ideas from our head. Public discourse just about dead. We'll ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur.
Ooh, creepy music. Pretty cool, right? It's fitting with this episode of Navel Gazing, the Valley Indy Podcast. Hi, everybody. My name is Eugene Driscoll, and I'm a reporter with valleyindy.org, a nonprofit online newspaper covering 4 towns in Connecticut's lower Naugatuck Valley. Today, I'll be talking to Christine Caprilozzi of Seymour. Christine is the senior editor and director of operations at Horror News Network, a website dedicated to all things horror. Christine and the Horror News Network are hosting CT Horror Fest, scheduled for Saturday, September 15th at the Danbury Arena. That's at 1 Independence Way in Danbury, Connecticut. Really quickly, here's a commercial.
Attention horror fans, come to Connecticut Horror Fest September 15th at the Danbury Arena. Meet the original and current Michael Myers from Halloween, Nick Castle. Also from Halloween, PJ Souls and Nancy Loomis. Cinema's first female action hero, the legendary Pam Grier. Rich Patrick from The Munster. From House of a Thousand Corpses and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Bill Moseley. Actors from Child's Play, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Blair Witch Project, Children of the Corn, and more. Horror-themed vendors, panels, costume contests, and more. More info at cthorror.com.
Hello, this is Christine.
Hey, Christine, it's Eugene. I apologize. I had the time wrong. I thought it was 8 p.m. Then I checked my email.
Oh, that's okay. These things happen. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm going to start off with a stupid question, so you're just going to have to deal with it. I apologize in advance.
All right.
But I assume people know what a horror convention is. But then I was reading some comments on the CT Horror Fest Facebook page, and I was surprised to see some statements, comments from people basically asking, what is this? So if you could just take a minute to explain what's a horror convention and why are you doing it in Connecticut?
Sure. So pretty much it's a genre convention. It's like the way we explain it to people, it's like a Comic-Con, but for the horror genre specifically. And I know we have several Comic-Cons in the state, but horror fans are not used to that if they've never been to one. Now, the very, very hardcore horror fans, and I know you're a horror fan, we're all used to traveling outside the state to go to these. And that's one of the reasons why, Rob and I started this, and this is our 5th year, is because people say, why don't you guys start one from Horror News Network? And, we hemmed and hawed for many years before we started it because it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of, obviously financial investment. It's a lot of work. But when we realized there was, people wanted it, we said, we'll do it on a smaller scale instead of the 3-day convention that, exists all around the country. We did a 1 day, and it just has seemed to grow and grow over the last 5 years.
Yeah, and it's sort of perfectly situated because you're doing it in Danbury. The first one was in Waterbury, and I can't believe it's your fifth one already. My Lord! But you pick up everybody that's coming in from Westchester County, Putnam County, Dutchess, all that area, and then like nowhere in Connecticut is far really from Danbury. So it's sort of perfectly situated as opposed to, and we've talked about this in the past. And yeah, I'm not a horror. I don't want to like portray myself as a hardcore horror fan because compared to like you and everybody at the Horror News Network, you know a lot more than me. But I'm too old to travel to Philadelphia now for that's really the nearest convention that I'm used to going to, and that's just I'm too old and alcoholic to go all the way down there.
Well, it is a haul to some of these, and I know like for people out in the in other parts of the country, there are people who will drive 7-8 hours to go to these events. But, we do the best we can to put on like the best show we can for the people of Connecticut. And because there are fans in Connecticut who have never been to a horror convention before ours, because it was just not on their radar because it wasn't in the state.
And you guys pack a lot in. I mean, it's a one-day convention, but people, if you're not familiar with it, don't let Christine sell you short there because they pack a lot in to this one-day convention, and we'll talk about some of that as we go on. But I just got to ask you off the top of the bat, and off the top of my head, and I should apologize again. I was 17 minutes late in starting this interview with Christine. I had the interview off by an hour, so I apologize again for that mistake. But
no worries.
Because you got to be on pins and needles. You got to be nervous. Here I am messing up the week before the convention, messing up your timing here. But as part of the CT Horror Fest festivities, you're going to be interviewing Pam Grier, living legend, true icon. What does she mean to you?
Yes. You know what? That was a big deal for us to get Pam Grier. I think for anybody to get Pam Grier there, she does not do a lot of personal appearances like this. So it was a big deal for us to get her. And for me personally, like, I'm a big fan. I'm also like, I think because before there was, kind of Aliens Ripley, before there was, Terminator, she really was kind of, for me, the very first kind of female strong action hero. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
You think back to I was, very young, but I remember seeing them later on in the early 80s, even though they were like a little bit older at the time. But, in the early 70s, there was Coffee, Foxy Brown, and all these movies where she was the strong lead. She was the one to be afraid of. She was taking down the bad guys.
Shooting all the bad guys. How did you get her? Like, I don't even know how you get guests, but was this someone you personally like lobbied for or wanted to get? And like, how does one even schedule guests for these conventions?
You reach out to their management. It's a lot of like, and now with the internet too, you can really, there's no hiding. So
you stalked Pam Grier until she just said, "All right."
I didn't stalk her, but I reached out to her management and I said, "Is this something she'd be interested in doing?" And you really kind of have to reach out to the person's management and rep and just see what would they require to be there, because there are some celebrities, and I always am very honest about this, who and again, she doesn't do a lot of personal appearances, so. We're really excited to have her, but there are some, let's just say, talent who do a lot of personal appearances, who pretty much make no bones. Like, you're a one-day show, we won't come out for that.
Oh, really?
That's why the people.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. I figured they'd want to do that because it might be a layup for them, but I guess it's not enough monetary incentive.
They don't realize. Well, here's the thing: they don't realize like we'll get the same amount of people as another event that is 2 days or 3 days. So, do you know what I mean? So that's why when you see people at our event, the celebrities who show up for our event, those are really the fan-friendly guests, because they're there for the fans. They're not like, oh, it's one day, oh, I'm not going to meet that many fans. Oh, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? They're not it's not worth it for me. Those people show up because they're excited. Hey, we've never done an event in Connecticut before. This is great. So pretty much everyone you've ever seen at Connecticut Horror Fest is a fan-friendly person.
And I saw a couple of years ago, I saw George Romero, and it was the coolest way. I mean, I had seen George Romero many times at prior conventions going back since I was in high school in the 90s, but I never saw him in such an intimate setting where it was like you were just in a living room almost. It felt like that with George Romero shortly before he passed away. So I know what you're saying. It's a cool venue, I think.
And he was a big deal to get too, because I was like, George Romero. I don't know if he's ever going to do our show, because we're one day, and it was 2 years ago too, so we weren't even getting as many people as we do now, and he's such a down to earth. And it's always kind of, and because you cover. You do interviews too. So sometimes if you're covering something, you go to a press junket or you meet someone who, is a hero of yours, or you meet someone, it's always kind of, if I interview this person, it's like when you pull back the curtain.
If they're a jerk, it stinks. Yeah.
Is that person a jerk? He was so nice and down to earth. I remember being in the hotel lobby with him the night before, and Rob and Larry walk in. And people who don't know, Larry is, part of our Horror News Network staff. Okay. Rob is, co-founder of CT Horror Fest and Horror News Network, and Larry also runs Connecticut Cult Classics. So Rob and Larry walk in, and I'm talking to George Romero and his wife, Susan. And I'm like, guys, this is, this is, Rob and Larry, this is Susan. And George Romero sticks out his hand. He's like, oh, hi, I'm George. And Larry turns around, and Larry turns around and says, yeah, I kind of knew that. But, he didn't realize he just thinks like, oh, hi, I'm George. It didn't click like he's well known.
Now, have you talked to Pam Grier at all in advance, or does it all just sort of happen when she flies in, and I guess you do the logistics to get her set up and wherever she's staying? How does that work?
Some people you deal with them directly. Some people you work through their agent, and then you do the logistics with them. It really depends on the person. Like with Pam, it's gone through her rep. He's done all that for her. Other people they'll sign the agreement and then you do everything with them. Some people just do everything with them ahead of time and directly with them. Alex Vincent, everything's been directly with him.
I was looking over some stuff to stick with Pam Grier for a second, and I mean, do you remember what won the Academy Award for Best Actress, or who won the Academy Award for Best Actress the year Jackie Brown came out?
I don't.
The Oscar goes to Helen Hunt, is as good as it gets.
Helen Hunt has acted in more than 18 films, including Twister.
I don't.
Helen Hunt for As Good as It Gets, that Jack Nicholson movie from that time. I mean,
oh God,
Pam Grier didn't even get nominated for Jackie Brown. Arguably, I mean, looking back now, however many years later, 20 plus years later.
21. Yeah, I was going to say it's like 21 years later, I think.
She is so good in that movie. It's like she's the center of the movie. She holds this kind of rambling movie where she's playing against Robert De Niro and Samuel L. Jackson, and it's all Pam Grier, and the fact that she didn't even get a nomination for it is just mind-blowing. Do you think you'll ask her that during the panel? Because you have a panel with her, so.
I do have a Q&A, so if you're going to be there, you can ask that. I'll go up to the audience.
I'll shout it. No, I'm really shy, though, but if you do that for me.
Yeah, I'm really shy.
And that panel... Go ahead.
I do have a lot of... I did read her autobiography, so I do have a lot. I mean, it's so interesting. Her life has been so interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, she moved out to California to go to college. And there was no intentions of being an actress. She had like a part-time job at a talent agency. She was a receptionist there. That was her job while she was going to school. Her job was to go to college. That's why she was there. She was very focused. So, I mean, it's just, she's stunning, so I'm sure that's how she got discovered.
Yeah, she's got that movie star charisma. And that
Right.
that's 4:45 Saturday, September 15th. We're talking. That's when Christine is going to be hosting a panel. So it's a Q&A. You'll be asking questions, and then she takes questions from the audience. That's how it works.
Yeah, that's how I usually run the panels, and we try to get that in. And after that is going to be the Bill Moseley panel.
Another awesome, that guy. Ooh,
yeah, and then after that, we're going to have the Halloween 40th anniversary, and Larry's hosting that panel. But what we try to do is do a few questions, but we also want to give, the attendees a chance to ask questions too, like take a few audience questions. And because, when else are you going to get a chance to ask the questions?
Of Pam Grier.
A few years ago, I did the Texas Chainsaw reunion when Gunnar Hansen was still with us, and Ed Neal, John Duggan. And I remember going out to the audience, and I think everyone was scared to ask a question. One guy stands up and goes, "I'm going to ask a question." He's like, "Are you serious, guys? Are you serious?" And he's someone in the audience was like yelling at the rest of the audience members, like, "Are you guys serious? You have no other questions?"
He's just shaming everybody into asking a question. I like that.
Yeah, like when are you going to get a chance to ask these guys a question?
And I guess for anybody, I'm sorry, go ahead, Christine. I stepped on you.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But some people are just really shy to get up and ask that question. But
hi, this is Eugene Driscoll, most likely interrupting myself to bring you a message from our sponsor, valleygivesback.org. Adding a Valley charity to your estate plan creates a lasting legacy that tells future generations what causes mattered to you. Your action will inspire others to follow your lead and make a difference. With a planned gift, you have the power to impact the Valley community forever without affecting your current lifestyle. Learn more at valleygivesback.org, an initiative of the Valley Community Foundation. Plan now, give later, impact tomorrow at valleygivesback.org. If anybody out there listening hasn't been to one of these conventions, basically the options Saturday at the CT Horror Fest are like it's any other, like Christine had mentioned, any other entertainment-related convention. You pay to get in. It's $25 at the door. You can stand online to get an autograph from one of the celebrities who are appearing. Each celebrity charges his or her own rate. And as of now, those prices range from about $20 to $50, according to the CT Horror Fest Facebook page. And those are not bad prices. As someone who's been going to these conventions since 1989 or so, those are very fair prices for autographs. And one thing that I loved on the thread, I always complain that I have to, that the people, I remember back in the day, it used to be free. You could see when I was a kid. But then somebody in the thread brought up, well, that's because they were being funded by movie studios to be there as part of a publicity tour. And that's no longer the case. And I never thought about that before. But is that true? Like why, this is a dumb question because obviously the market is the market and there's supply and demand and people will pay for autographs. But why do people charge for autographs for anybody who might not know?
Well, it's their appearance. It's at their discretion. And you're right. Movie studios don't fund them anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not for that purpose. It's more fan fest. And I think for people who are kind of veterans of the convention scene, they know that the people we bring in, those prices are very fan friendly. Someone brought up on the thread, they were just at the Comic-Con and they paid over $100 to meet Robert Englund.
Yep. He was charged. Yeah. And if you go to like one of the Walking Dead, what is it? Walker Stalker.
Oh, the Walker Stalker. Yeah.
I heard, you gotta you got to give up a kid or something like that. It's insane how much they charge.
The minimum you pay for any walking, how do I say this in a politically correct way?
I almost hesitated myself because you don't want to get, Yeah,
so someone who's been on the
you
Walking
blackball
Dead
yourself
for one season will charge $60 for the autograph. And they range up to $100 to $120. So,
It's a good deal. This is definitely these prices are like a decade ago, as far as I'm concerned. That's what it looks like to me.
I know. I heard, and I'm going to say this because I was like, really? I heard it, because now pop culture cons are bringing musicians and everything else, and I heard Gene Simmons charges about $165 to $175.
And that's probably just to look at him. That's probably not even a to gaze in his general direction. You have to give a credit card.
But how much do you think? I remember New York Comic Con when you had William Shatner. He's over $300 for his autograph and photo.
And here's the thing: if you don't want an autograph too, and I usually don't get autographs, but I will. But there are a ton of other things to do at this particular convention. There's a vendor room. There's
costume contests. We have a haunt. Last year we had the laser tag, but due to like the spacing constraints, I don't know if you were there last year.
I know I did not go last year, but I saw some videos. I was watching some videos today to get an idea of the layout. I've been to the ice arena before, but
so the ice, because it's the ice arena and there's ice under the floor. The panel area being within the same area as like where the celebrities and vendors are, it was too loud. So you couldn't really hear the panel. So we moved it upstairs where the laser tag room was, and the haunt space is going to be its own separate area on the floor, so people can go in and take pictures of the props and everything else. So that's always fun to do, to go through the haunt area, the vendors, and obviously the Q&As and the costume contests are always fun as well.
And there's T-shirts you can buy. I mean, people are selling T-shirts. There's so much original artwork now happening at these conventions. It's something to see. Posters. A lot of times you can get one of a kind. Yeah, real artwork. A couple of podcasts will be there, from what I've heard, including Pint of Comics, a great Connecticut-based podcast. I love that podcast.
And I also heard, besides Pint of Comics, the Great Mobile Horror Companion will be there.
You're probably going to throw them out pretty quickly. I'm just going to warn you. Yeah, that's this is my day job, and then my moonlight. I wouldn't even call it a job. Once a month, I do another podcast with two buddies of mine. We were thrown out of the ice cream social at the Fangoria Weekend of Horrors, like the last one I had. So that's about how reputable that podcast is. But I love the fact that you still include panels at these shows, because the fact that anybody can ask Pam Grier a question, or at least attempt to, is cool. And I assume to keep that going has to be tough, because logistically, just as you mentioned, to sort of manage all that in a space, I assume can be difficult. And then in general, I've seen at other conventions where people won't go into a Q&A because they're standing online. They don't want to lose their spot. And so, in my opinion, at some of the other conventions, the autographs have taken away. They've pulled people away from the panels. But again, this is cool. It's old school. You can definitely do both, because this convention doesn't get fire marshal insanely packed. It's a good number of people.
Well, we do have fire marshals there. Danbury requires us to have 2 fire marshals.
Oh, that's kind of okay. There you go. Yeah, it used to be Barry Rickard. I used to work at the News Times in Danbury. Their fire marshal was this dude, Barry Rickard, by the book. And Mayor Bowden. Will Mayor Bowden be making an appearance? He's not running for governor anymore. You guys gonna have him judge a contest or anything?
He did judge the kids' costume contest a few years ago. We sent him an email, so I'm not sure if it got on his schedule yet. So we'll know soon.
We'll have to see. If you see the mayor, give him a hug. It's been sort of a rough couple of weeks for him.
I know. But he's always been a big fan of us. And then when the Matrix started, because remember we used to be at the Matrix, and when they started having some difficulties up there, he wanted us to stay. We're like, well, where can we go? And she's like, well, what about the arena? And we never thought about the arena.
No kidding. So Mayor Bowden helped you. He suggested that as a possible venue.
He suggested, yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Suggested it because we didn't think about it. Because we didn't realize, first of all, that they had a floor at the arena.
Right, yeah. You just
we didn't know if it was in our range, to be completely honest, financially. Remember, we're not corporately backed. Mm-hmm. This is just us, independent. This is an independent show. but they worked with us and said, all right, we can do this, this, and this, and, make it like within our range. And we're like, all right. And so that's how we ended up there. But the arena's been really great to work with. Do you know what I mean? Just really easygoing and whatever you need. And, they've been good.
Oh, that reminds me.
Jody there has been very good.
I'm asking this for a friend. Are there adult beverages sold at the CT Horror Fest this year?
Yes, after the asking for a friend. That's good, Eugene.
The other podcast I'm involved in. Those guys want to know.
Yeah. Well, last year after we hit, because for pre-order tickets they can get in at 10 and then it opens at 11. But I know it's around 12:31. The arena rolled in a little cart with some beer. So it's up to them. You know what I mean? Like they control that aspect of it.
Gotcha.
The only food we're allowed to bring in, and we had to negotiate this and with the Department of Health, is the Hardcore Sweets cupcakes. So they're always there with us.
Gotcha. And there's plenty. I mean, if anybody's unfamiliar, I know Two Steps is right around, literally within walking distance there. There's all kinds of, in the Main Street, Danbury itself, there are
right
a million.
Up the street.
Yeah, and there's a million places to go there, especially like if you want to try some good. There's Brazilian food, Ecuadorian, and there's a whole array of really good food there on Main Street.
And the arena does sell food, and they do sell beer. But that's I think they realize, oh well, this is I mean, we get a lot of adults there, so.
The Pint of Comics guys are here. They're going to sell. That's $3,000 in beer right there, just for those two. But then, quickly going over some of the the events and panels for people who are interested. And again, it's Saturday, September 15th, CT Horror Fest. 1:15 p.m. There's a children's costume contest. 2:15 adult costume. Go ahead.
Kids. I just want to say, kids. 11 and under get in free. With an adult, because I know some people want to just let their kids. Oh, the kids get in free, and they just let the kids run it. No. We don't want kids running around.
They go to the mall. The parents go to the mall and just let the kid off. Say hi to Sid Haig. That's fun.
Yeah. But yeah, so kids 11 and under get in free with an adult. So if you want to dress your kids up, if you're coming, they get in free.
Christine, to be honest with you, I'm doing the Mobile Horror Companion. We have a booth, and we're giving away some free coffee cups to people. I'm getting the hotel starting Friday night, so I will not have my children with me at the CT Horror Fest. Friday to Sunday, I'm staying in the hotel. Then at 3:15 p.m., you got the Child's Play panel with Alex Vincent. I am psyched for that. 4 p.m., Children of the Corn. Go ahead. Did I mess something up?
I think Sean McLaughlin's hosting that Child's Play.
Yeah, according to what I stole from Larry Dwyer. Yeah. Of the Connecticut Cult Classics. Children of the Corn panels at 4 p.m. John Franklin and Courtney Gaines. That's hosted by Shelton's Nicholas Banks. I talked to him once. And then the big Pam Grier panel, as we mentioned. Then Bill Moseley, Chop Top, and what was his name in the Devil's Rejects? Otis
Driftwood.
Yeah, that guy. There's a guy that should have an Oscar for both of those performances. That guy is the man. And then it closes out Go ahead.
He's been in so many things. You know what I mean? He's been in so much.
Yeah, he's from Connecticut originally, right? He's from the Stamford area. I think I want to say.
He was born in Stamford. He did go to Yale as well.
Ooh. And then it's all kind of rounds up. 6:15 to 7 is that Halloween 40th anniversary panel that Christine had mentioned earlier. And I guess the huge news in the horror world as we're recording this is the Halloween sequels coming out. A new trailer was released a couple of days ago. That movie has been endorsed by John Carpenter. It ignores all the sequels that took place after the first Halloween. Yeah. Sort of recast the Michael Myers, Laurie Strode story, I guess. What are your thoughts? Are you looking forward to that? You think it looks good, or is it going to be Freddy Krueger?
No, I think I'm kind of it does ignore the stuff, but I'm a big Jamie Lee Curtis fan, and obviously Nick Castle, who's going to be at Horror Fest, is also appearing as Michael Myers again in the new one. So there's a lot of excitement around Nick Castle being there.
Oh, wow. Can we get him drunk and he'll spill all the beans about, can he spoil the movie for us, or he won't do that?
I don't think he'll spoil the movie for us, but, he was, tweeting out shots from the set and everything. You can go on his Twitter feed and see, if you scroll back to when they were shooting it.
So awesome.
So Yeah, so I'm excited just because I'm a big Jamie Lee Curtis fan. And just before you called, I was looking on my Instagram, and of course I follow Jamie Lee Curtis. She's on the cover for the Halloween edition of Good Housekeeping magazine. I kid you not. Isn't that fantastic? This is where I'm at in life.
Yeah, either that's fantastic or it's just like, we're getting old, Christine. It's over for
exactly.
us.
I couldn't figure out which one.
So your husband, Rob, is your partner, as you mentioned, in the Horror News Network. It's interesting for me. I'm going to get a little personal here. You can tell me to shut up. But two people to have a common interest is cool, particularly it being horror, which is a little unusual, I guess, for lack of a better word. Then to launch a business based on your common interest is something else. So I'm curious, if you don't mind me asking, how did you two meet?
We met on a blind date. And this is how we I think Rob knew, like, we were kind of perfect for each other.
Was it like Cannibal Holocaust or something like that? What was the...
No, we actually, the first date was at King's in Newtown, Connecticut, and I made him meet me for lunch. And he was like, "You want to meet for lunch?" Right? And in my head, at that point in time, I'd been, single for quite a while at that point, and I was just like, you know what? I don't want to waste a night on some blind date. This guy could be a jerk, and I honestly had plans with my friends that night, and I was like, I'll just go meet him during the day because if it's just like awful, whatever. So I met him, and he was, well, why are we meeting like during the day? And I was like, well, honestly, I don't know you. It was a blind date. I don't know you, and I don't want to end up chopped up in a dumpster at night. So we have to meet in the daylight. This is what I told him. We have to meet in the daylight, and in a public place.
And
right?
He still showed up.
And he still showed up.
Wow.
And he's like, well, you didn't end up in a dumpster. And it's funny because the date lasted longer. And I remember my friend calling me like, hey, are we going to meet? And I was like, I'm still on the date. I was whispering with him, I'm still on the date. And she's in a car full of people. She's like, oh my God, Christine's still on a date after like 2 hours during the day. She's still on a blind date. I was like, okay, got to go ahead and hang up on her because like they were all laughing at me. But yeah, I think that's how he knew. Because
was it like kind of
a dark sense of humor? He knew I had a dark sense of humor right away.
And was it like love after that first date? Was it like a love at first sight thing, or?
Well, you know what? Honestly, it was. We definitely clicked after
right
the
away.
first date,
That's awesome. He was very insistent. Because I'm a vendor this year at the CT Horror Fest for that mobile horror companion, and Rob was very insistent. I've only exchanged emails with him, but he told me like repeatedly, no celebrity interviews, and I was confused by it. I thought maybe he had like, does he know I got kicked out of the VIP social in like 1997 from Fango Weekend of Horrors? I'm like, what does this guy have against me? Then I saw, you know what though? I saw like today I was watching YouTube videos of your previous shows, and I was like, wow, everybody is stopping Sid Haig to do an interview with him, and there's got to be 100 people waiting to get an autograph. So it sort of made more sense. Is that why that is stressed? It just grinds it to a halt.
And we tell people this, like, you got to understand it's a one-day show, and we actually had. There's a podcast out there that badmouths me. They hate me so much.
Really?
Yeah, it's terrible.
I'm sorry.
I think it was like no, it's not. Yeah, stop it.
No. I'm being serious. I know what it's like to get some hate on the internet. So I'm sorry you have to go through that. I wasn't being a jerk.
Oh yeah, no, I don't care though. So because the second year they were interviewing, like, video cameraing everything, like Gunnar Hansen, and the line was getting so long. I had people come up to me. I mean, we're a one-day show, so you don't want people to wait like a half hour to 45 minutes in line, because you don't want, like you talked about, you don't want them to miss a panel.
Right. I never assumed, like, I'm a reporter. I would never, I mean, if somebody that comes up to me and in the situation, or I interviewed Ken Foray in a bar once. He was just sitting there having a drink. There's like certain,
that's different.
But you can't go to the guy's table. I mean, maybe the Iron Sheik back in the day, you could do it with him and get him to do, 5 seconds. But I would never take it upon myself to sit down and just do an interview. But I guess I didn't realize that until I was searching YouTube today. I'm like, oh, he doesn't hate me.
No.
It's that these people are bringing the show to a grinding halt.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We're only one day, so people only have one day to meet. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So if you want to interview somebody, you got to do that in advance and set it up yourself, not do it at the show.
Yeah.
So, all right. So
That's what it was. So that's why, Rob and I always say that, just because we wanted to keep it fan friendly.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And also, we've been, with Horror News Network doing this for 13 to 14 years. Like, we started out with Comic Monsters. When we would go to comic conventions or we would go to other horror conventions, I'd give out my business card and say, hey, would you want to be interviewed? I mean, I've interviewed Bill Moseley several times. It's because I've given out my card and I've set it up before.
Right, yeah, that's the way to do it.
Years ago, like, I remember when Devil's Rejects came out, they were doing the conventions, and him and Sid Haig, we interviewed them, but we didn't interview them at any show. They said, contact so-and-so, my manager, and I called and we set up interviews. Like, that's how you do it, So I would never assume to hold up a line.
Yeah. I get it now. You got to. I was sending forwarding Rob's emails to the other guys I do the podcast with. I'm like, did one of you guys do something to this guy? Why does he hate me so much? Because of course I'm a narcissist and I thought it was just me. But no, tell him I apologize for bad mouthing him in my mind.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's just because we want to keep the lines moving.
Totally makes sense.
Last year, if you saw last year's Sid Haig's line, we had to snake it up into the bleachers.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Because
yeah, and if he's saying a few words with everybody. Yeah.
Exactly. And
hey, what about?
We have a few people.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Christine. Again, I stepped.
We have a few people who were trying to logistically. We think their lines are going to be long. Like last year, Adrienne Barbeau, her line was nonstop.
That's got to be a lot of pressure on you. That's got to be nerve wracking to try to, because you can't really anticipate these things.
Right.
So, I would just run away crying. I'd be at 2 steps hiding under a table.
Well, and that's where we always say, this is not a 1-person operation, a 2-person operation. We have an amazing staff, and it's not just the staff that day. It's an amazing, the Horror News Network staff, the people who are with us, it's me and Rob, but it's also it's Larry Dwyer, it's Nick Banks, it's Sean McLaughlin, it's John Evans. It's the planning. It's all these people who've been to conventions for years. Okay, so now if that person has a line, how can we snake them out this way? It's all the contingency planning. It's the crowd control.
Do you get to enjoy the show yourself at all, or not really?
Very little. No, I'm just kidding. There's certain, last year was very, very because it's in an ice arena and some of the vendors closed up and they just left early, and I was like, please don't do that.
It kind of looks, it kind of deflates the feel of the show too, right? I mean, if somebody...
It doesn't, but our staff didn't get to shop.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
I didn't get to buy any, I bought a few prints. I'm big on buying artwork. I love artwork. But I bought a few prints, and we have a lot of handmade stuff that goes on, but a lot of people, I think, missed out on some sales, because we actually had people come through the door. I know it's a long day. We had people come through the door. I kid you not. The show ended, this year it's ending at 7. But we had people come through the door last year at 5:30.
Wow, just to check it out. Holy cow, yeah.
You know what I mean? They're getting out of work, but they want to come in and get an autograph, shop the vendors. Because when you go to these shows, when you go to the genre shows, there's a lot of handmade stuff. We have someone who does stained glass this year.
Yeah, it's so much different. That's a new thing. Yeah, that you can get. There's a lot of cool stuff. The vending, the vendor room, has really become awesome at these. It used to just be, you could get before the internet. That's where you'd just get all your bootleg movies, and that was the majority of the vendors room.
Right.
But now it's you can get just a lot of cool stuff. It's like the coolest arts and craft show ever.
Oh, there's a lot of artisan stuff there. I mean, we have some. I love our vendors. I mean, we have some really cool handmade stuff. I mean, obviously we have people who are selling T-shirts, posters, and I love the original artwork. Vinegar Syndrome's going to be there. They're always there.
Yeah, I'm psyched for that. See, because I've only become aware of them through people connected to you and on Facebook. So it'll be. I've never been to their. I guess they have a shop in Bridgeport, right? Am I getting?
Yeah, the
right?
Archive. Yep.
Okay. So yeah,
open on the weekends.
I'm looking forward to meeting them and seeing their stuff. But listen, you just used the word artisan, which I don't think has ever been used on the Valley Indy podcast or the Mobile Horror Companion, like the trashy podcast that I do. So I gotta pull the conversation back into the gutter for a little bit, because that's what I'm used to. My last question. For the horror podcast, whenever we have a guest on, we ask them 2 questions. I'm going to ask you now. Name a horror character you would most like to get drunk with and why. And then after that, name a horror character you least would like to get drunk with and why. I almost made it through that without stuttering, but I'm an idiot. So what character would you like to hang out at a bar with?
Oh my God, Ash Williams.
For that arrogance, I shall see you dead.
Yeah. All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. See this? This is my boomstick!
Oh, there we go. Why?
Oh my God, why not? Are you kidding me? Hilarious. So definitely Ash Williams would be probably who I'd want to. And least is...
who would be like annoying
that's
or...
hard.
Yeah,
It'd
right?
be really annoying to me.
Oh, obviously you don't listen to the podcast. You would have been prepared for this.
I know. I wish I could remember his name. Oh my God. It's the guy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the one...
Larry Dwyer?
His brother.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, I'm confused.
No, Sally's brother. What was his name?
Franklin. It's Franklin Hardesty.
Franklin. I would not want to get drunk with him because he's so annoying.
All right, that's a good answer. And I'll edit out all me and you hemming and hawing as I was searching Google, so that's good.
I'm sorry.
No, don't
sorry.
apologize. I want to thank you, Christine, for taking the time to talk to me, and also, for bringing something like this close to home. I think it's really cool what you're doing, and I've told you this before. Larry Dwyer with CT Cult Classics, who's connected to you, doing what he does like once a month now at the Strand Theater in Seymour. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. And then like on the broader scale, there's all these great podcasts that I've really become connected to and listened to, because I knew somebody who knew you. Like the hashtag CT Pod Squad on the Facebook page, CT Pod Squad. If anybody out there listens to a podcast and you want to listen to some good Connecticut podcasts, check that out. So anyway, I want to thank you for you being you.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
I really, people don't usually say that to me.
I know. Yeah. After I want to find out who are these guys that are going all nuts on their podcast. That'll be great. Because I love the gossip. But anyway, Christine, thank you so much for taking the time.
Okay, thank you.
For hundreds of years we've brought you the news. Printed the info, we gave you the clues. Owners' profits were always sky high. Changing market now threatens our lives. Post-literation, critical reading, dumbed down nation, signs have been breeding. TV sucking ideas from our head. Public discourse just about dead. We'll ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur. Our readers are in the opens each day.